up, everybody? Welcome back to Trading Wars. Thanks for joining me today. Today we have a special stream, my friends. As promised, you know, every day we do our Trendspider scans. We look for our raindrops and my different patterns of Holy Grails Nirvana. So today I have a very special guest. We have Dan, CEO and founder of Trendspider here. He's going to talk to you guys through the platform, show you some more tools, get you more familiar with what they do. And guys, I'm really happy to be working with Trendspider because they care about you guys. You know, they're trying to make things better in trading. They listen to feedback, and I'm really proud to be a partner with them. All right. So if you're ready, let's step into the war zone. So Dan, how are you doing today? Thanks for being here.
I'm doing awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. It's cool to be here.
All right. So what we're going to do here, guys, is I have a few questions here for Dan. He's going to go ahead, share his screen, walk us through these steps here. And if you have any questions, please post them in the chat and we'll try to take them throughout our seminar here tonight and just keep them in a logical format. So I'll be taking care of that. So, all right, without further ado, let's go ahead, Dan. Why don't you try sharing your screen?
That work? Can you see that?
Yes, sir. There we go.
Let's do it. All right. So do you want to start with questions or
yeah. So let's so tell us a story about Trendspider. How did it get started? Why are you still doing this? Like, what's the purpose behind Trendspider?
Yeah, that's a question that not enough people ask about other ideas. So I appreciate you asking it that way. Trendspider is a chance for me to combine a passion for trading with a passion for building tech, right? So in the very beginning, it was actually a tool that I built for myself, right? It wasn't initially intended to be commercialized. And then when I saw the very first version of it, right, I was like, wow, this is something that we probably should build into a product and release out there. The mission behind it is pretty simple. It's to level the playing field on the technology, data, and tools side so that everybody in the market is trading with the same tools, right? Because right now, and for the last 20 years, retail traders have always felt disadvantaged, and largely because they are. Right. Retail traders are out-tooled. I know hedge funds that have 10 programmers on staff for every trader. Right. They're out dataed. Retail traders don't have access to any of or most of the alternative data that is used out there by professionals. Right. And they're out-resourced. Right. Like retail traders have, unless they're programmers, have very little ability to automate anything. Right. And that's not how pros trade. Pros develop strategies and are systemic about it. But retail traders are emotional about it, making decisions in the moment as they're staring at a chart. So, to tackle this issue and, to kind of make it better, Trendspider exists. And what we do that's kind of unique is we bring all the tools that you might want to use or you might need into one platform. We call it a single pane of glass. And the idea is that you shouldn't have to bounce between browser tabs and different tools, if you want to check options flow on something, right? Or if you want to use a special indicator, like there's a lot of reasons why traders end up using multiple tools all the time. And some of our surveys, right, up to 80% say they use 5 or more paid tools. So we try to bring it all into one platform so you don't have to buy a bunch of different tools that all use different data feeds and work differently. And we try to bring a level of sophistication and technology that, retail traders generally haven't had access to. So that's kind of the high level story of it.
Yeah. And I would say, two things that I want to touch on is, I've been in the industry for a long time, and I've seen exactly what you're talking about. Something like a Bloomberg terminal might cost like $100,000 to lease, and no regular retail trader is going to be spending $100,000 for a Bloomberg terminal to look up, quotes and different things like that. So I definitely see that from an industry side and seeing it on the retail side. And one thing that you also said was, the automation and the emotions. And that's something at Trading Wars that we try to make it very simple to people, that with a 2-to-1 risk to reward, you just need to win 34 out of 100 trades. That's how we look at it, regardless of the system. And the automated part is something that I'm really excited about. I do that all the time. Every day I have automated trades. I set them the night before. And that's a message I try to push to a lot of people, because your biggest enemy a lot of the times as a new trader is yourself and just doing dumb things.
Oh, yeah.
And also, like you said, having information overload where there's too many things going on. Maybe there's too many platforms that you're using, and having a one-stop shop like Trendspider, that's amazing. And I'm really happy to see that there is a company out there that's really thinking about the retail trader. You know, it's not always about making money, but it's about giving the best product to your customer.
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps that I trade. I've traded since 2008, right? I think it helps that we try to only hire people who trade,
Yeah.
right? Which
Mhm.
which is different, right? Like I know the owners of a lot of other platforms out there, including some of the very big ones. I won't name names, but most of them are run by people who don't trade. They just buy and hold investors who don't have time to trade. And I mean, I understand it. If I wasn't passionate about it, if I didn't enjoy it, right? I probably wouldn't find time for it either. It's hard to juggle building a business and still trading. But like when you build stuff that you want to use yourself, it doesn't feel like you're working, right? It's fun, right? Like you enjoy it.
Yeah, 100%. And guys, hit me with a one if you're enjoying this so far. I mean, we're getting right on the cups of everything. And I forgot to say, but we will be doing some giveaways today. I'll be doing some giveaways. Trendspider will be doing some giveaways. So make sure you send me the energy. Hit me with a one real quick right now. And let's get to the next question. So I think what we want to see, Dan, is, I think, what do you think are some of the most exciting features that you guys have? I know you have your raindrops, which I focus on a lot, alerts. Seasonality is something that people don't talk about a lot. Unusual options. So I guess, what are the top things that you guys use that you think would be beneficial to the retail trader?
Yeah. So I'll touch on a few things. One, I will touch on alerts. Alerts are one of the most popular things in the platform. It's something that I use pretty regularly, right? I have a bunch of them created here on my alert sidebar. And I can kind of show you what these look like, right? Trendspider alerts are different than alerts in a lot of trading tools because they're designed to mimic how a trader might actually look at something themselves. Right. So, in a lot of platforms, you can say like, alert me when price trades at $10, right? Or something like that. Let me pick a better example. In Trendspider, you can take a little bit more sophistication to it, and I will recreate some of these just so you can see what I mean by that. So I'm gonna like this is something I've been watching Blue Apron. I'm not a huge double bottom guy, but if it happens to come back here, I'm pretty sure it'll be at least some level of a bounce. So I've been watching this one, and I've been watching it for two different things. I don't know what's going to happen, right? Like it could run, or it could pull back. Sorry, my mouse is acting a little weird. So what I can do here is I can right click on the level, right? And then I can tell the system what to watch for. And you have three choices. You can choose for a breakthrough, a touch, or a bounce, or all three, or just two of them, whatever combination you want. And remember, we're on a weekly chart right now. We then can tell it that, hey, I know we're on a weekly chart, but let's wait for a 65-minute candle to actually perform this. Right. So now we have two different time frames at play on a weekly chart. We're going to have an alert on our weekly level, but we're going to get alerted when a 65-minute or 30-minute or whatever candle enters that zone. And then we're going to choose a buffer zone. Right. So here we can get alerted on approach. We don't have to wait for it to actually directly hit, but we can define a buffer around that level. If we wanted to automate this trade, there's a way to do that. I'll touch on it in a little bit because that's a whole separate feature. And then we can just have this alert last for, whatever amount of time we want, right? Trendspider will now take this alert and upload it to a server at our server farm in our data center. And it's going to use a NICE high-speed connection to check the conditions on this alert, similar to how you would if you were watching it, right? It's going to wait for a candle on the confirmation time frame to enter the zone and close, and then trigger an alert to you. What's cool is these can be any kind of level, right? Like that was an alert on a horizontal level, but I can put an alert on an anchored VWAP if I wanted to, all the same, right? It'll all work exactly the same. I can give it a buffer zone around it. I can trigger it off a different time period, right? And so forth. And I can just create as many of these as I want. And that gives me the power to be patient and let the market come to me, right? Which personally, I think is a really important skill for traders to learn, because what a lot of newer traders do is they chase, right? A lot of them say they're breakout traders or things like that. But if you pick levels ahead of time, and just stick alerts on them. Those levels can be an indicator level. They can be the bottom of a Bollinger Band, right? They can be a diagonal trend line, a horizontal trend line, a fib level, whatever you want to put an alert on. And you just forget about them, right? When the thing that you care about happens, you'll get notified instantly. And then you can make a decision as to whether you want to trade it or not. So what I do a lot of the times is I sit around Sunday night after my kids go to bed and I create a ton of alerts. I'll run some scans, I'll flip through the results, and I'll throw alerts on anything that looks interesting. And then I just wait. When those alerts go off, then I have a reason to go back to that chart and look at it. That's
wow. My mind is actually blown. Like, I didn't even know those type of alerts existed. That's impressive. I see the chat blowing up right now. Everybody's going crazy. What about integrating this with Fibs, Fibonacci?
Totally
That's something that we trade all the time in Trading Wars. So do you have an example of that?
Yeah, sure. Let's pull up SPY or something, right? And we'll throw some fibs on this. Actually, there's some fibs on it already, right? So Trendspider has auto fibs that you can always use if you want to, right? You can turn those on. They'll measure a recent completed move and plot fibs on it. You can obviously.
Could you show us that again, Dan? Can you show us? So you hit auto fib. So it looks like it's taking the last bear leg down. Let's see.
So look, let me explain what this looks like. And let me actually just clear all my drawings off this chart. So we'll start fresh. I'll turn off my FVG indicator here. Right. So Trendspider has a number of automated analysis functions. These are things it can do automatically. Right. One of them is automated trend line detection. Right. So you can tell Trendspider to go in there and detect trend lines on a chart. And this is cool because it's customizable. Right. So it starts by identifying every possible line on a chart, and then it filters them down. Right. And you can get a number of different views on a particular chart. The other thing is this is also point in time. Right. So this was last done on the 16th, about a week ago. Just like a person, it's not going to reanalyze it every time you revisit the chart. Right. So you can have it do it again for you. And then there's also a variety of different styles of analysis that you can use, right? There's different types of trend lines that are coded in here that work in different ways. And you can even build your own detection schemes, right? Where you can define your own rules, right? You can define the scoring system for each line, and you can have the system repeat your style of trend line detection automatically. So that's kind of an advanced feature in customizing auto trends, but the same logic that powers auto trends also powers auto fibs. Right. So auto fibs will measure a recent completed move. And depending on the trend settings that you have here, like if I switch this to original, which looks for a longer trend further out, right? You'll notice instead of picking up the short-term moves that we were looking at earlier, it's picked up the giant broadening formation, right? And then it's measured a fib from here to there, right? That's automatic. When I switch symbols to the Qs or something else, right? The same exact. I've got a lot of my own drawings on this one, so let me delete those off.
Wow, I that is really impressive. I think that is a game changer. What about, I guess after you show us this, what about intraday? Like, what if we want to do this on a 5-minute chart? How would that work?
It works on any time frame, right? Okay. You can do it on any time frame at all. But the question was how to alerts with auto fibs. You can actually just create them directly on the fibs, right? Either if they're drawn by hand or if they're automatic. When you create an alert on a fib level, that alert is drawn as a line. So I can turn off the fibs, but that alert is going to stay there, right? Automatically. So you don't have to do anything. Just create it on whatever you see on your chart, and it'll automatically give you an alert. This anchored VWAP right here on the Qs is one that I'm watching closely. This is a level that I'm trading against, right? I'm long as long as we stay above it. So I can just create an alert on this and say, hey, let me know when a 30-minute candle closes on opposite sides of it, right? And now I don't have to worry about managing risk in this and watching it by hand because the computer is going to watch it for me, right? I might as well go play golf or whatever. Auto fibs, auto trends, manual fibs, alerts, they all work on all time frames, right? So you can, for the most part, all time frames. So you can go into 15-minute chart. You can say, hey, if price happens to break above this level here, let me know. I'm going to wait for a breakthrough there, right? You can drop alerts anywhere you want. So you can say, I'm going to stick an anchored VWAP level here, right? And this will be my stop level, right? I can create an alert there, and I can get also add to my position if I get close to it, because I'll get stopped out right under it. So I can create an alert that goes a bunch of different ways, and like this way you can just work through charts, create tons of alerts, and then you don't have to worry about anything, right? Like when your alerts go off, that's when you should go look at the chart.
And one thing I would add there is eventually, I don't know, not right now, but when you can link it to your broker, right? You could just put an order in there, right? You could just say,
So,
hey, buy long on the 618, buy me 2 contracts of MES, as an example.
so you can link this to brokers already.
Okay.
You go to Trendspider documentation and search for webhook. Right. There's a way that you can configure Trendspider to ping an outside system. You need an order router, right? But there's a number of them out there. I'm going to talk about the one we're launching very soon, because we are launching an order router pretty soon. But in crypto, there's Alertatron, right, which is an order router for like 4 or 5 crypto exchanges. There's a couple small ones out there, and we do have people doing this all the time, right? I do this. So like I'll create alerts that will trigger an entry in a TD Ameritrade account, because I've been beta testing our order router.
Beautiful.
It's
Beautiful.
the coolest thing in the world. Like you're sitting there messing around, and all of a sudden TD8 goes off and goes bink, and you look and you get a text message saying, hey, your alert fired off, right? And that way you jump in a position instantaneously when your conditions hit. It's way better, trust me, than sitting there waiting for price to enter a buy zone so you could mash the market order button, for a decent fill, right? It's a lot better than that. So I'll talk about that stuff a little bit as well. I do want to touch on a few other things. So we'll come back to alerts, because there is a new feature that's like bots that are bi-directional and position aware alerts. But I want to get there in order, if that's okay.
Great. All right, let's take a quick pause here. Guys, I see the chat blowing up here. Hit me with a 7 if you're having a good time. I mean, this is pretty cool stuff. I think that those alerts are a game changer. I haven't seen that before, where you could have those 3 different ways of, because a lot of times we do things called like V triggers when we trade levels. So for example, we want to break and then close on the 5-minute as an example, or a break, come back down and then re-break. So there's some amazing opportunities here to integrate this. I just want to say that from what we do here at Trading Wars, this looks amazing. And guys, by the way, before I forget, so Dan and the team hooked me up with a code. If you guys like what you're hearing, 50% off 12 months. Okay, tonight only, code TWZ50. I'm going to throw that in the chat right now if you're interested. All right. And then Dan, continue.
All right. So by the way, you can do that kind of stuff, like where if you want an alert, want a pullback or a breakthrough and then a pullback and retest, you can create an alert where it's a breakthrough and a bounce. Right. And then when you set up the alert at the bottom, you can tell it if you want it to only trigger once and then expire, or you can say like trigger 6 times or whatever. Right. Because then you'll get an alert when price breaks above it, and you'll get another alert when it pulls back and touches it. Right. You'll get a third alert if it breaks through it again. Right. So it's a way to like have this watch it, for longer than just the immediate hit.
Yeah. And you know what? If it's not too much, could you pop up the Apple chart? Because this is one of the things. This is the blue raindrop we scanned yesterday. And let me just get you our line in the sand, which we were looking at. So Apple, let me get that. Apple was 137.12 for long. So what we did here, basically, we saw the blue raindrop yesterday, and we're like, all right, above 137.12, that's kind of where I want to get involved. And you could see like it on the 5-minute chart or on the 15, we played with that level a lot. And then eventually we just broke through it and just penetrated into the close. So how would you set that up? Let's say, on the 3rd attempt really is when it kind of exploded. So how would you do that for the multiple tests?
You were on what time frame?
On the 5.
On the 5. Okay.
Yeah.
So raindrops work down to 10. So I have to switch.
Yeah. So we scan the raindrops on the daily, and then we go down to like the 5 for our intraday trigger. So
yeah. So I mean,
137.12 was our line in the sand.
What was it?
137.12.
Okay. 137.12.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm assuming it's like trading down here, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that. Right. You would just right click on it. You would just say breakthrough and touch is all I would do.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the sensitivity down to 0 because you want to play directly with the line. And then instead of triggered once, you do like triggered 3 times, right? That'll give you a break, the touch here, and the breakthrough. So maybe a few more, right? Because it would trigger a few different times along the way here.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
You would just set it up like that. And then you get a series of alerts, and they would be different events. Like there would be a breakthrough alert. These wicks will not trigger alerts, right?
Okay.
For an alert to happen, the open or close needs to actually interact with the area, the zone that you're creating alert on. This is one of the ways that our alerts are different. They watch charts in a way that's very similar to how a person does, and they try to avoid getting faked out, right? So wicks generally do not trigger alerts.
Got it. And that's great because you could see, like, look how many wicks we had
Yep.
before eventually breaking through cleanly, which was probably the last attempt on the day where we broke through cleanly, was the one that was that little squeeze into the close.
Yep.
And for us playing options over here, getting the Friday expiry, taking this as a potential swing, that's a nice little play there. So this is great. Let's keep going.
All right. So, next thing I want to touch on is just some of the stuff in the sidebar, right? Because the sidebar is where a lot of cool features live, and not a lot of people notice them. So I'm going to delete some of this extra stuff here and add a few widgets. We'll add insiders. We'll add unusual options. Let's see. We'll also add a smart checklist. That's seasonality. Do we have seasonality in here? Oh, we do. So I'll add smart checklist instead. Okay. So the sidebar is where a lot of very cool features in Trendspider live. And these are features that kind of fit our value prop of reducing the number of tools you have to pay for. Because how many people here pay for cheddar flow or flow algo or unusual whales or some other options flow scanner?
Guys, hit me with an 8 if you pay for flow outside.
Kind of options flow tool, right? I bet a bunch.
Any options flow tool. Let's see.
Yep.
I know a lot of you are. It's not something primarily that I use at Trading Wars because we tend to just stick with SPY, which is pretty high volume. But let's see here, and then continue, Dan.
So part of our idea with this is to bring in as many tools in one place as possible. So one of our sidebar widgets, this is available on all of our plans, is an unusual options scanner, right? And this is a little bit unique, right? So you can full screen it, right? And you can see a scatter plot chart of all the unusually sized option trades. The bottom axis is expiry date. The vertical axis is strike price, right? The dotted line is in the money above, in the money at the money in the middle, right? And there's filters along the top. So you can say, hey, I want to see what unusual options trades have an expiry before Jan of 2013 or before October, right? You can then filter and say, I want ones that have a lot of premium paid, right? You can see there's a very big bearish bet on Apple over here, right? So you can filter this however you want. And you can look at this data by hovering your mouse over it, right? And it'll give you a lot of details about it, right? The strike price, expiry, the percentage of the open interest that this particular trade took up, right? And the amount of premium paid. There's a couple definitions for the type of unusual trade this picks up, but it picks up sweeps, block trades, and repetitive options trades. If it's repetitive, you're going to see a blue circle around it, right? The blue circle shows you that there's a lot of repeating trades that occurred. And you can look at this in two different ways. You can look at this on a money at strike or as an individual trade. So like when you look at it as money at strike, you can see the balance, right? On this expiry date, there's 124,000 in put bets and 300,000 in call bets. And you can see what prices those are at as well. In the sidebar version of this, you can also see a list of the actual trades, right? So this will give you a full list of them. The handy chart in the background gives you a sense for if those trades were like the percentage that trade took up of the open interest. And if you hover your mouse over these, you get a little bit more detail. So that's one thing that's just built right in, right? So you guys can just use it. You don't have to pay for another tool. You don't have to upgrade to an expensive Trendspider plan. It's available in all of our plans. And it's something that, personally, I really like to look at.
What about the auto fibs and the trends? Are those a part of any plan as well?
Yes. So core automated analysis is included in all plans. Things like the number of alerts, the number of scanners you have at one time, the depth, the time frames you can scan on, whether or not you can backtest and use live trading bots. Those are the main differences between plans. But if you want to just use automated analysis and a handful of alerts and things like that, like the cheap plan is totally fine. Most people end up on the middle plan, right? Which is how it's designed to be, right? It's meant to be the plan with the broadest appeal.
Gotcha.
So in addition to unusual options, we bring in a bunch of other stuff into the sidebar. So I'll touch on a few of these things. One of them that's just fun to play with is insider trading. You can pull up any symbol. Oh, I forgot. Facebook changed symbols, and it's totally messing with my head. Right, but when you look at this, right, you can see every owner of Facebook stock notable, right? All their directors, officers, 10% owners, key executives by name, including Zuckerberg himself, and you can see what they're doing with their shares. So you can clearly see Zuckerberg was dumping shares. Actually, he was dumping like 25, 30 million a day for an entire year. All right, and you can see all those trades here. The black line in the background is the share price, right? The red lines are his disposition of shares. The orange line is his actual holdings, like he's back to where he was before he even started selling, because he was given more shares along the way. But you can see all his transactions here, and you can click the little read links, which will take you to the government filing that shows you the actual transaction. Right, this is the actual sale for that particular line item. So it's a cool way to see data about what the executives in a company are doing. And with this, I'll leave you with one thought. Compare what Zuckerberg has been up to what his buddy Dustin Moskovitz has been up to. Dustin's the CEO and founder of Asana, right? That guy's been buying like $30 million of shares a day, while Zuck has been selling $30 million of Facebook shares a day. So it's just fascinating. And we make that available for you for free on almost every plan. I think this is every plan for you to just look at.
Wow, that's impressive. And I think all those tools are great to kind of add to your existing plan. So, for example, if we're trading a Fibonacci, let's say a pullback, and then we want to look at some other tools, we want to look at the flow, we want to look at some of that insider trading, like what's going on. I think those can really help you to pick a bias too. In some days where you're kind of neutral, you're not sure which direction to play. But those can add other factors to give you some confluence in order to take the right trade.
Absolutely. I mean, look, this is when I was talking about how retail traders are disadvantaged. It's a big part of how Bloomberg has all this stuff, right? Bloomberg also costs, you were a little high in your price. It costs about 30 grand a year, right? Like
Gotcha.
2,700 a month, right? To rent a terminal. That is well out of reach. And the other thing is Bloomberg is 20-year-old code, right? It was written in Fortran. Like Bloomberg can't hire developers to work on it because they literally don't exist. So like a lot of these legacy platforms, a lot of broker platforms are that way, right? They're not like modern Web 2, Web 3 technology. These are ancient products that are just handed to retail traders. Like it's almost like, here, peasants, trade with this garbage, right? Well, like we're going to go trade with something that's fancy. This is what's on my screen here is another tool in Trendspider. This is called market seasonality. This is one of my personal favorite tools, right? This is something that a lot of retail people never even think about. But asset prices tend to have seasonal patterns. And understanding those can give you a little bit of an edge, right? Like if you knew at the end of March that April tends to close above where it opens 77% of the time, right? That might inform a decision, especially if you're already thinking that April might be a good month for whatever stock you're looking at, right? This is SPY. So what we're looking at here is a monthly distribution of the percentage of months of the last 29 years that closed higher than they opened, right? And we can go back 29 years on SPY, right? But if we find something that's been around for longer, I don't know what's the symbol that's been around longer than SPY, right? Maybe Microsoft. I don't exactly know when they IPO'd, but we have, so it's a little older, 35 years. We have about 50 years of market data in this thing, but we can clearly see that of the last 35 Februaries, only 40% of them closed higher than they opened, right? Whereas January, March, and April, it's a much higher ratio. So this can inform your decisions, right? Like if you're going to go long something and it's about to be a new month and you see that month is really weak for the name, maybe you wait a little while before you go long because there's a good chance it might pull back.
And something that I tell the people in my Discord that we trade with our community a lot is if you look at the May, June, July, those 3 months, usually the summer months are a little bit kind of slow, right? If you look at some of the bigger moves happening at the beginning of the year, near the end of the year, and that's great to just show as a reference because a lot of the times when we're trading, history repeats itself.
Yes, it
you
does.
know, and that's our edge. That's why we look at the same patterns over and over again. That's why we look at the Fibonacci's over and over again because we're trying to repeat what we know can work. And these are amazing tools to help us do that.
Absolutely. Right. And let me show you another thing here. Right. Let me go to SPY, because SPY is just the most obvious. So the other thing is, you don't have to slice this just by month. You can slice this by week. You can slice this by day of week. You can slice this by hour of day. Right. And you can define a different period.
Let's go to the by day. Let's look at that again.
Yeah.
And
No,
so
this is looking back how long, right? Because we can look at just what's been going on in June. June's kind of new, or we can look at from the beginning of May, right? Or we can look from like all year, like January.
yeah, let's look at all year. So if we were to look at Friday, so we're basically saying on Fridays we tend to, how would you explain that? Like on how we
Yeah.
tend to close lower than we open, or
So
how
this is telling you of the last 6 months.
Mhm.
Friday, right, has had, or I'm sorry, Thursday, right? Thursday has been the worst performing day. Right. What it's telling you is, of the last 6 months worth of Fridays, only 32% of them closed higher than the month opened, or the day opened.
Got
Right.
it. Got it.
So the
Okay.
remaining 68% here closed lower than they opened.
And that's on Thursdays. For
That's on
the
Thursdays for SPY for the
and,
last
and that's the funny thing today is we had so much chop. Like we were just chopping around all day, and that's what I was telling the team today. I was like, guys, usually the climax comes on Friday.
Yeah.
Right. You could see it here if you actually look at the data.
So check this out. Right. So then you can add on raw data, and you can even turn the bars off. Right. So each of these dots represents one of the outcomes of the last 6 months. Each one represents a Thursday close. So you can now see the specific distribution. Right. You can see the best Thursday was 2.53% gain. The worst Thursday was negative 3.5%. Right. And you can see the distribution. And like, if you see them clustering in a particular area, that tells you something. Right here, you can see them kind of clustering around here. Right. So like Thursdays are generally a choppy day. But here's the other thing to keep in mind. Right. Not only can you view the raw data, right, you can view the full range. Like this is the full range. This will align with the raw data. Like the highest dot will be up here, the lowest dot will be down there. Right. It's just another way to look at it without all those dots. You can also view the more common occurrences, right, where you chop off the top 25 and the bottom 25 and top 25%. Right. Or you can view like the mean and the median, which will give these two lines. And also, it doesn't just have to be price change, right? So you can say, hey, I want to look at volume. What day of the week over the last 6 months is there the highest volume trading this, by looking at relative volume over 1 or relative volume over 2, right? So you can slice this in a lot of different ways. This will also take momentum. So you can use RSI. Like what percentage of the week is RSI over 70, right? Over the last 6 months, not a lot of it. Right. What about less than 30, right? Or less than 50, so like you can get a sense for how price and momentum and volume, right? And even distance from moving averages, like what percentage of the last 6 months was SPY trading above its 20 period moving average by more than 0%, right?
Wow.
So like this lets you slice and dice it a bunch of different ways. And last thing I want to show you guys here, because this is something that almost nobody notices that you can do in here. But let's say you're looking at a long extended period of time. You can also filter stuff out. So you can say, okay, I want to look at this data, but I want to remove all of 2008, 2012, March of 2020, right? All Aprils, so like you can just type dates in here. And then when you flip this on and off, you can see how it changes with those periods excluded or included, right? So gives you a mechanism to remove outliers if you choose to.
And that's awesome, because one of the things that I tell new traders is you don't need to trade every day, and if there are particular days that are prone to being choppy or, not in line with your strategy, you don't need to burn your capital on those days. And
Totally.
when you have the data behind it, it makes the decision a lot easier.
Yep. So let's move on, because there's a lot more to cover. Something a lot of traders sometimes pay attention to is the actions of analysts, right? Like Wall Street analysts. If you guys have ever tried doing that, though, you'll find that it's hard to know when they're going to be right, when they're going to be wrong, if they're worth it, right, following them, or if they're worth being a contrarian trade to them, doing the opposite of what they say, right? Analysts suck sometimes, but they're also really good at other times. So we give you a way to kind of tell the difference. So Tesla's my favorite example. We have a sidebar widget here. It's the one all the way in the right here. This is our analyst estimate sidebar widget. We take this data in, we normalize it, you know, because some of them say outperform, others say buy. So we normalize all of that into buy, hold, or sell, 3 categories, right? We assign gray to hold, green to buy, red to sell, keep it obvious. And then we give you a way to view this in both a list on the side of your screen and also on your actual chart. And in this way, you can take analysts and use them just like a technical indicator. Here's what that looks like. Right. And you can see when I switch to a weekly chart, they'll cluster a lot more. But each one of these boxes represents a different analyst action related to Tesla stock. Right. When they're red, it means whoever that Wall Street analyst is said sell. When they're green, it means they said buy. When they're gray, it means they said hold. When they're half gray and half red, or half green and half red, it means they switched opinions. Right. So in the sidebar, the top chart shows you all of the analysts in their current positions. Each bright dot means they reiterated or changed positions. Like this guy up here, he was a sell and then recently he became a hold, right? So that's why it switches from red to gray. And you can see a full list of them here. And you'll notice when I move my mouse over these guys, it highlights them on the chart, right? It's because these two things work together. So let's experiment with this a bit. This is Tesla. Let's see who's the dummy who said sell at the very bottom, right? That's Morgan Stanley. Who else said sell? That's Citigroup, right? So let's say we want to isolate Morgan Stanley and Citigroup and just see if they're generally terrible or if they were just wrong that one time. We click on the item in the sidebar. We go and switch it to favorites only, and that hides them all. And then we can go in the sidebar and we can just click on the ones we want to see, right? There's Citibank. You can then zoom out and see, okay, these are all the times Citibank has said something about Tesla, and they've been wrong every single time, except for recently, right? So that doesn't say a whole lot about how good they are, right? They're pretty terrible. You can use them as a contrarian. So you can then flip on some others and just compare and see visually, just like a technical indicator, which ones are good and bad, right? With Citi, I found they're an awesome contrarian indicator for Tesla. They just are, right? They're absolutely terrible at calling Tesla. And what even is better is if you combine them with Piper Sandler, they tend to be a really good combination signal. When Citi says sell and Piper says buy at the same time, do what Piper says, right? You know, and it's like getting a double confirmation without having to really do any work, right? Like you're just saying these guys are consistently bad or good at this, right? So I'm going to follow that.
Wow.
And by the way, that just happened recently, right? They're so far right in the short term, but Piper said buy and Citi said sell here. So we'll have to see if that trend continues like it has in the past. So any questions about that? Thoughts on that?
That just blew my mind, actually. Like, I think that just blew my mind. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch this video because I'm starting to think of all these ideas now that we could do, like, especially if we have Fibonacci. Like, you know, if I look at that, Tesla's probably on a 50%, close to it on like the full retracement on the fibs. And then comparing that with the analyst and seeing, you know, if I get an edge there and actually doing a little back test on that is like a nice project that I could work on. So this is great. This is awesome. I don't think I've ever heard people talk about these type of things. So I know everybody in the chat is loving it. Guys, send me some of the rockets right now if you're enjoying the stream, and let's continue.
All right. So, you know, I don't want to spend all day in the sidebar, but there's a couple other quick things I do want to touch on. One is, and this is a good segue into other parts of the system, like scanning and backtesting and multi-factor alerts and bots. But we also have a feature called the Smart Checklist, right? And if you're like me, right, you know, you probably have a list of things you care about when you're entering a trade, right? Like I care about whether or not earnings is coming up in the next few days. I care if there was a recent analyst downgrade, right, or an upgrade. You know, like I care about if there's an upcoming split date or, you know, like if it's above a year-to-date VWAP. Like there's a bunch of stuff I care about. This stuff spans multiple time frames. It spans multiple types of data. So instead of flipping through a bunch of different charts and, you know, trying to, hold on. There we go. Instead of flipping through all the charts and like looking at all the widgets and like trying to like figure out for each symbol if it fits my criteria or not, we have this nifty little thing called a Smart Checklist. So you can use any of our scripts. There's a bunch that comes with it. My personal checklist is in there. So if you look for Dan's personal smart checklist, you can find mine and play with it. It's a good foundation to build off. And this looks for, I want monthly, weekly, daily, and 65-minute timeframes, all trading above open, right? I want to know if there's earnings in the next 10 days, right? I want to know if there were any analyst upgrades, downgrades, or initiations in the last 10 days, right? I care if this symbol has been recently popular on Wall Street bets, and I care if the price is above the year-to-date VWAP, right? So that's the shit I care about. You might care about other stuff. But when I choose this checklist and put it in my sidebar, every symbol I look at gets automatically checked, right? I get green if that condition is true, red if it's not, right? Like J&J here has full time frame continuity. I don't have to flip the monthly, weekly, daily 65-minute charts to know that they're all trading above open right now. It just checks it for me. And this can check an unlimited number of conditions across an unlimited number of timeframes. We don't restrict it at all. You can tell it whether it takes after hours data into account or not, whether it takes the current open candle or the most recent closed candle. That's what current candle does. And this saves you a ton of time, right? And you can have multiple smart checklists open at once. Like you can have, 6 of them if you wanted to. But it's really handy as you're flipping through charts. And it's a feature that is really underrated. Like not a lot of traders know about it. Not a lot of people know how to use it. It's shockingly easy to set up. And once you set it up, you never have to really worry about it again. It's just there, right? So that's one of my favorite underrated features. I definitely suggest you play with them, right? It takes a little bit of time to discover everything in this system. But that's definitely something that you should play with. It's underrated.
Yeah, that's great. I never heard of that checklist feature before. But a lot of traders do these things manually, and just imagine the time you could save by just using these tools. And I think this is pretty much the future of retail. We're gonna all be so sophisticated in the future, 5, 10 years, on the way we do trading and the way we automate trading. It's a great opportunity for retail to get in the market and have an edge where they probably wouldn't have that, 5, 10, 15 years ago. That didn't exist.
No. And this is the thing, like retail has, this technology exists, right? Like the idea of a smart checklist is not something that like we invented, right? But the people who have that tech keep it close to chest. They're not sharing it with you guys, right? Like this is built within the walls of every bank prop desk in the country. They all have something like this, right? They all have advanced screeners that go well above anything retail's had. And that's why retail feels and is disadvantaged, right? The only way to solve that is to give retail the same tools, right? Like only then can the playing field be truly level, right? And when one side has bigger guns and fighter jets, and the other side is showing up to the fight with, a pocket knife, right? Like, it's not surprising when the people with the pocket knife get creamed. So like all this stuff is there to make life better for retail, partially for selfish reasons, because I'm a retail trader myself, right? But, like we look at it as a public service. So let's move on. I could spend a lot more time in the sidebar. There's definitely some other stuff in here. There's free Benzinga news here, by the way. Like if you don't have to pay for Benzinga Pro, it's included with Trendspider. If you just add the news feed here, right, that gives you the Benzinga Pro news feed for whatever symbol you're looking on. But I want to move on, and I want to touch on the market scanner, and then strategy tester, and then trading bots.
Sure. Before we do that, why don't we just do a quick giveaway?
I'll shut up for a few minutes.
Yeah. So Dan, what kind of giveaways do we have for today for Trendspider?
So I think we okayed giving away three 1-month elite plans, right? So that's our middle plan, most popular plan. That's the account that I'm using here. So it has all the features, everything that I'm using is in that plan. So we're gonna give away 3 of those for 1 month.
Let's hit the first one right now. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a random number in my head from 1 to 20. The first person that puts that number up on my chat, okay, not on your chat, I gotta see it. You're the winner. All right. So let's go, guys. Let's see who can get it first. Drop your numbers in, and I'm gonna throw up the right answer on the screen. So let's see. Who do we have? Okay, I still don't see it. I don't see it. Don't see it yet, guys. And here we go. Right here. Produce chips. You are the winner of the first giveaway, brother. All right. So this is how we're gonna do this. Just DM me after the stream we'll verify your YouTube account, and then I'll get you over to Trendspider to hook you up. All right. So Dan, thank you so much for those giveaways. Thanks to the Trendspider team. And yeah, let's keep it rolling.
All right. So let's talk about scanning, because scanning is an area where traders waste a ridiculous amount of time, right? Flipping through charts endlessly, trying to find opportunities that fit like a criteria that could be as long as complex as something in my checklist here, right? So scanning is an area that everybody does, whether you use a tool for it or not. You're always looking for trading opportunities. You're always looking at charts, trying to find something that you can take advantage of. If you're a trader who will trade anything as long as the opportunities there, the scanner is a great way to find it. So let me walk you through this. Along the top here, you can select the haystack, right? You're telling it where you want to look. This can be a watch list of yours, any watch list that you've made. This can be a Trendspider system watch list. There are over 600 of these, right? We have these by market cap. We have these for Cathie Wood's ETFs, like everything in ARK is in here, right? We have every symbol that's been halted in the last 30 days. We have symbols that have been popular with Wall Street bets, based on sentiment. Top traded with retail, and every index and industry list you can dream of. So I'm just going to pick like something big, like the Russell 2000, right? But you can define any haystack you want. Then you define the chart type you want to scan with. If you're looking for candle, generic open, high, low closes that. But you can scan for blue raindrops by switching this to raindrop here if you want, right? And then you tell it, do you want to look at the current open candle or not? That doesn't matter right now because the market is closed, unless you're scanning crypto, in which case it does matter. But if you're scanning equities during the day and you want to find opportunities that are forming right now, always check this, right? Because that tells it to look at the current open candle for the purpose of the scan. Then we tell it what to look for. And this is where you can get super fancy, right? Let's say the first thing we care about is finding a candle that's an inside bar, right? Let's say in the daily time frame, we want to find inside bars, right? And then let's say the next thing we care about is that candle is a hammer on the daily chart, right? So we can select a Trendspider hammer. We can also select we have the Thomas Bulkowski patterns in here too. We can, I selected two of the same one. But you can define a criteria this way that you have the system look for, right? So let's select a Bulkowski hammer. And here we're going to change it. Instead of all of the below, we're going to do any of them. So now it will require an inside bar. And that inside bar has to be either a Bulkowski hammer or a Trendspider hammer, right? And then we can add more conditions, right? So we can say, not only do we care about that, but we want it to not have earnings in the next, 10 days, right? So we can add this criteria here, but switch it to none of the following this time. So now we're looking for any chart with a daily inside hammer that does not have earnings coming up in the next 10 days. Right. And we can keep adding stuff here. I mean, you can get super fancy. You can say all of that. Plus, I want it to have a news article in the last 30 days that contains the words FDA. Right. And you can then change this to 30 days. You can add analysts to this. You can add filters by watch lists. Right. So you can say, not only do I want not to have earnings, right, but I also don't want the symbol to be popular on Wall Street bets. Right. So we can say it's not one of the top mentioned in Wall Street bets in the last 30 days. I don't know if we're going to find anything with this scan. This is kind of a random specific scan. But then you just hit the button and it goes out there and it searches the market and it tries to find any charts in the list that you picked that fit that criteria. Right. We're probably not going to find something here because of this FDA condition. So I'll just remove this and we'll rerun it. Right. And we'll see if we can find anything. Yep. So, and it's just that easy, right? Like you pull up the chart, right? You can look at a daily chart. You can see that it is in fact shaped like a hammer that is inside, right? And you know that it does not have earnings in the next 10 days and it has not been popular in Wall Street bets recently. The idea with this is so you don't have to be a computer scientist, a programmer to build complex scans, right? You can build simple logic. If you can describe a chart to a friend of yours or a scenario, you can describe it to this. It's meant to be very easy. And the last thing I'll show you here, all right, because this is something that is truly unique about this, is you can also have multiple time frames. So you can say, look, I want also for the 5-minute simple moving average to be greater than the daily simple moving average, right? So you can like mix time frames together and mix technical and non-technical and news-driven and analyst-driven conditions all in one scan. You can then save this scan, right? So you can give it a name, you can press save, right? We called it electrified market scanner. And then you can open it as a watch list, right? So here it is right here, right? And now I can close the scanner at the bottom of my screen and I can just have the scanner live in my sidebar, right? So I don't even have to have that open at the bottom of my screen at all. Scanning is so powerful, right? And this is one area where retail traders can definitely use it.
And I want to jump in there, Dan, because this is pretty much like what I do every single day. So we do this on stream every single day. One of our scans we always use is the blue raindrop scan because it's such a rare, powerful pattern. As well as my own scans, we have the Trading Wars Holy Grail and the Nirvana. And you also helped me create a multi time frame scanner that I use as well. I would say like that type of scanning where you do the multiple time frame, I have not seen that on anything else. Period.
Yeah,
like I've never seen that before. So it helps, for example, if you want to bias, right? So let's say, hey, the weekly is above the 200 SMA. Let's just say that's your okay. That means I'm gonna go bullish on this, and then I'm gonna look for a blue raindrop. And those type of features is adding confluence. It's adding other factors to your trade, which can give you a real edge because you will be picking specific criteria that fits your trading plan instead of chasing names and just hearing about things on the internet and getting into things that you're not sure of. So this is absolutely great. So thanks for this great tool. We really appreciate it.
No, thank you for using it. It means a lot seeing people actually use the product. We pour so much of our blood, sweat, and tears into it that just seeing people use it and be happy with it kind of makes my day. So the other last thing I'll mention on scanning, right, is anybody can build a scan, right? And there's a ton of examples that the system comes with, right? So you can learn how it works by just flipping through this, right, and looking at examples. Some of the Trading Wars scans are in here, so we try to give you enough tools, right? But like the real awesomeness of this is when you click on the little three dots here, you clone the scanner to your own account, and then you mess with it and add stuff to it, right? Because it is like infinite flexibility, right? Like if you like, tweaking something, you can just tweak it and just see what happens, right? It's painless. It doesn't cost you anything to explore, and this lets you make things your own, right? And the other thing I'll say, I really suggest having a negative filter in your scan for names that are popular on like Wall Street Bets and things like that, because those tend to perform poorly, right? So I always do that when I run.
Or we could just short them.
Yeah, or you could just short them. So let's move on because there's a few other things I want to touch on, right? The strategy tester is a built-in backtesting tool, right? So this is something that I think people should spend a lot more time playing with backtests, right? It's so cool and powerful. You can define buy and sell rules the same way you can define a scan, right? And then you can just say, hey, what would have happened if I had traded this way going back, how long did this go? 10,000 candles, so 2 years on the 30-minute time frame. This will then go and compute the performance of your strategy, right? And as you flip through charts and run, pull up different symbols, it'll just rerun the backtest for you, right? So you don't have to like reconfigure it every time. This strategy is one that I built specifically for the leveraged SPY. It's called SPXL, and the leverage Q, the TQQ ETFs. So it's very curve fit to those. But I'm running this as a bot, so I want to show you guys what I'm actually doing, right? And this strategy is very simple. It's a Donchian channel crawl, right? It takes 2 Donchian channel indicators, a 3-period one and a 13-period one. Right, 13 because that's the number of 30-minute candles that a day takes up, right? And then it just rides it when the 3-period low is above the 13 low and the 3-period up is the same or as the 13-period up, right? And it's trading above the previous day's high. Very simple strategy, right? But when we run it in the backtester, we get these awesome markers on our chart. I'll zoom in on this, right? So you can actually scroll back and say, hey, if I traded this way, when would I enter? When would I exit, right? Like, how would my winning trades look? How would my losing trades look, right? And then visually you can go in and say, okay, I learned something here. I'm going to tweak my conditions and rerun this strategy. through this process of just playing with it, almost like a video game. Like I've started backtesting, and the next thing that's 4:30 in the morning, and like I don't know where 6 hours went, because it's fun, right? And once you start getting finding something that kind of works, right? And a lot of simple moving average strategies actually have edge, right? So when you find something that works, it becomes a lot of fun to refine it and make it better. You can also run backtests on any time period, down to 1 minute, up to monthly. You can run them on any type of chart, right? So you can backtest on a range wrap chart and backtest buying a blue range up and selling 10 candles later. I mean, there's a million different things you can do.
So Dan, you're telling me I don't have to manually do 1,000 samples in Excel like I used to anymore?
No, you don't. You can just define the buy and sell rules and see it visually. And there's a few really cool things I'm going to show you about this. First is this. This is called the Price Behavior Explorer. The bottom axis is the number of candles since open, right? So entry is here, and all the way over, the longest trade in this backtest lasted 302 candles, right? The left axis, vertical axis, is the number of open positions, right? So you can see at the beginning, we had 109 open positions in the strategy that lasted at least 3 candles, right? And then those positions started getting stopped out or closed out based on our condition, our entry and exit rules, right? So you can see that like 69 candles in, right, you only had 34 positions that lasted that long, right? So that's kind of a interesting piece of data. On the right axis, you have the change percent, the gain or the loss, right? So you can see how, on average, how many positions lasted 200 candles. And of the ones that did last 200 candles, their average return was about 12% at that point, right? So this lets you see how the strategy works as a whole, how consistent it is. This dotted line in the background that's along the middle here, this is just straight up random buying and selling. We call it a random control. And if your strategy can't beat random buying and selling, then it sucks, right? So we put that on there as a way for you to see if your strategy works or doesn't, right? Compared to straight random buying. Next, the other chart on the right is the performance chart. And this lets you compare the performance of your buy and sell strategy versus buy and hold. Blue is your buy and sell strategy. White is buy and hold. So at the very top, I'll show you made 168% if you traded in and out using the strategy versus 57% if you bought at the start of it and held the whole time. That's important info. That's not always the case, right? A lot of strategies don't outperform buy and hold, right? And that's important for you to know as an investor, as a trader, right? Like sometimes you really are better just holding something, right? It depends on the asset and depends on the strategy you're comparing it against. But here's what you can do that's really cool here. Right? You can hide the strategy and you can enable positions. And this gives you info that you can use to optimize your strategy. This strategy was designed specifically to avoid giant drawdowns and mass selling. And you can see it actually does that pretty well because the giant sell-off, the COVID sell-off is all gray, indicating we were not in a trade except for one losing trade in the middle here. When this gray line turns green, it means the backtest entered a trade and made money. When it's red, it means it entered a trade and lost money. When it's gray, it means it just was sitting on the sidelines. And you can see that this is actually kind of an effective strategy, this Donchian channel approach, if your goal is to avoid the big sell-offs. Because for the most part, you aren't sitting in a position during these huge sell-offs. Like even here most recently, right, this strategy was not in a position for this big drop, right? So this lets you quickly look at it and say, okay, my strategy is still catching too many big drops. I need to go adjust the conditions, right? Finally, there's a way to see your drawdown, right? So when you click drawdown in the chart key, it'll give you the drawdown from peak here. So you can see like right now, this strategy would be down 37% from peak, right? So like you can clearly see like when it works, when it doesn't. And that gives you clues as to what you would adjust in the logic. So finally, we give you the tabular data here. We tell you the statistics about this back test, right? The beta is the asset. Generally, I like strategies with low beta, right? Meaning it's not correlated well to the asset. The number of trades, the percentage that you won and lost. You know, Rich, you're talking about how like you need a strategy that only wins 36 out of 100 trades, right? This shows you that. This strategy wins 50-50. Right. You can see the average win versus the average loss, the average return per trade, right? Your average RR ratio and so forth. You can also click on trades here and you can download a spreadsheet with every transaction, the entry, the exit prices and so forth. right? And if you find a strategy you like, this is brand new. We haven't even announced this yet. We launched it on Wednesday, yesterday, and it's a soft launch, right? So we've launched it, but we're not telling people about it on our website or our Twitter or anywhere else until next Wednesday, because we want to make sure it works well. But you can take a back test and you can now turn it into a live trading bot, right? So this is like saying like, okay, this back test is going to be the foundation for a bot that trades forward. And you can have this strategy run on any time period, right? Since I created from this bot, it's going to mirror the strategy and the time frame from that thing, and give it a name if you want, and you can then tell it what to do, right? So you can say on entry, I want you to text me, I want you to email me, or I want you to send a command to an outside system. This can be something like Zapier that posts to Twitter or adds a line to a Google spreadsheet, or it could be an order routing system that actually goes in and places a trade for you in a brokerage account, right? This gives retail traders the ability to fully automate the entire strategy. And I'm going to show you an order router that we're releasing very soon that is a follow-up to the bots release that gives you that ability in an easy way. But there are some other order routers out there, and we built this to be agnostic. It'll work with any of them, right? But you would copy the entry and exit criteria from the order router here, right? The order router will give you the webhook address and give you the payload format. And then you go down here and you define what you want the bot to do in case something goes wrong, right? What happens if an entry webhook fails, or a webhook fails in general? What happens if you start the strategy and it's already in a position, right? Like this strategy, if I launch this as a bot, it's already in a position, right? So do I want it to just jump in and open a position immediately? Or do I want to wait until this position closes and the next entry signal triggers, right? So, and you can use this to power a bot to just post to Discord. I mean, you know, Rich, you can have this just sit there and post your trade signals into your Discord automatically. You don't have to do anything. We provide on our website extensive documentation. So if you go here and you type bots into the search tool on help.trendspider, this is our longest article. I mean, it is long. Right. We spent a huge, enormous amount of time writing this to give you clear instructions on how to build bots. But we didn't just do that. We also gave you instructions on how to connect it to other systems. So if you want to use a webhook that posts to Discord, we give you the specific step-by-step instructions how to create a webhook that posts to your Discord. Right. We did this for all kinds of different stuff, including our own order router, which is not yet released. But there's all kinds of different tools you can use this with today. And this lets you build on top of Trendspider. And since you can use a custom indicator in a backtest, you can use a custom indicator to power a strategy with real money in a real market environment. So that's brand new. It's beta as hell, right? We've tested it for more than a year. We've been building it. And it will be publicly announced this coming Wednesday. But since we're all here today, and since I'm showing you the live platform, it is there. You can play with it today.
Boom, guys. Exclusive VIP access.
Yes.
I mean, this is like, I gotta say that my mind is blown. Like I'm gonna be working with you guys real close. I have a bunch of ideas here. I think each one of these topics I might have to bring you back, Dan, you know, whenever you get time, so we could focus on some of these bots and some of these back testing. I know a lot of my followers are obsessed with things like back testing and automation. So looking forward to the future.
Yeah. So that brings me to just a couple other things. One, I forgot to show you guys this, but there's a lot of really cool data under other data here, right? Like you can actually have a chart that shows you the popularity of this symbol on Wall Street Bets if you want to. You can measure market breadth. We buy from NASDAQ statistical data on what percentage of trading is retail versus institutional, which, by the way, I just have to show you guys because it's fascinating. But if you look at the meme stocks like GME, right, like the most retail ever made up was 9.5%, right? Like you see these schmucks on Twitter and Reddit saying like, we own the float. It's like, no, you guys never did, right? Like the most you guys owned at your peak was 9.6%. So that's one thing that's really cool. And then last thing I want to show you is we are, oops, wrong screen. We are launching an order routing tool very soon, right? So this is called Signal Stack. This is a product that Trendspider built. right? It's under a different name because it supports all our competitors. Like you can use Tradingview to trigger alerts in SignalStack. You can make a red button that you hit on your desk that sends SignalStack a command to buy 100 shares of Apple. Like it's meant to be a completely flexible, dumb routing tool that you can use to connect any signal to any broker or crypto exchange. And this is something that is coming very, very soon. Right, we've put all our customers, right, all 13,000 of Trendspider's customers on the wait list ahead of everybody else, right? So customers will get first access. But this lets you connect multiple brokerage accounts to, any alerting system. And when paired with trading bots in Trendspider, this gives you the ability to have fully automated strategies. But you don't have to do that. I mean, you can just create an alert on a line and say, hey, buy 100 shares when this alert is touched or when this line is touched. Like you can do that too. But you can also build full automation. And that's a power retail has never really had before.
Yeah. And I'm so excited to see where you guys are going to be next year, because there's so much things in the works here. These are all the things that I've been trying to do on my own. And just to have a platform like you guys that are thinking on the same level, it's inspiring, because I know these are the things that serious traders that want to make money, they want to do things like this, because a lot of people know this over time that the emotional side of trading is what destroys you. The FOMO, the over trading, the lack of patience. But if we were to sit back and just be mechanical with some of these things, we will make a lot more money. And that's where my passion is, and the tools that you guys have. And I know, Dan, you're focusing so much on that. That's where I want to get everyone the availability to do that if they so please to.
Yeah, I mean that's all I want to do. I want every retail trader to have the same tools, the same data, the same capabilities that every pro is sitting in a bank office somewhere, right? That's really what gets me up every day. Like I don't have to work. I've sold a bunch of businesses before, right? Like this is a passion project.
Yep.
We want to level that playing field for real. So we have a bunch of other stuff coming. Right, SignalStack is closest. We're going to open up the wait list for people to join it probably next week, right? And then we're going to slowly start letting people in and making sure that everything works smoothly, and hopefully have a full launch for it sometime this fall, right? But SignalStack is one of the next big things. After that, we're going to be bringing in the ability to have custom scripting, right? So anybody can build indicators. And a marketplace to go with that, so indicators can be sold and traded more easily. That doesn't really exist anywhere. Our custom scripting is very unique. One, because it uses a real programming language, not a made-up language like PineScript or ThinkScript or EasyLang, but it uses JavaScript, something that like 500 million developers around the world can already code in. And we built it for developers first. We built it so developers love it, right? Like we told our dev team to make something that they would want to use. So every indicator we've released, including the trading war ones, have been built with the custom scripting. And when we open that up, we think it's going to bring an influx of ideas to the platform. All of those will work in the scanner, will work in the backtester, will work on charts within alerts and so forth. You'll be able to use them in bots. That's something that doesn't really exist anywhere. Like even other platforms that have custom scripting, you can't really scan with them or do fancy things with them, because the way those scanners generally work is by pre-computing all the conditions in memory, and then you scan against that database. Whereas in Trendspider, we compute every condition in real time as you're conducting the scan. So, there's a lot coming, right? One common request, people have been begging us for a multi-symbol view, right? That is coming. We're working on that now.
Yeah, that's the number one question I've seen in here, and I was going to ask you. And I know you guys are working on that. And once you guys have that out there, I know that's gonna be key for a lot of traders. A lot of traders, we like to look at different things. What's going on with the indexes, what's going on with individual names. So I know that's going to be powerful.
And then also one big active project right now, something that's been a long time coming, is we're bringing CME futures into Trendspider. We're bringing real-time futures for all 4 exchanges, and it's going to work across the platform. And that's something that's been missing in the platform for a long time. It's probably our number one request is real-time futures. So I'm really excited to bring that into.
Guys, let's do a giveaway right now. I know you can feel Dan's passion for what he does, guys. He doesn't need to go this far with this, man. Like this is taking it to another level. Let's be real. If you look at other platforms, they're not even close to what we're planning to do here with Trendspider. So drop me, let's say, a number between 1 and 20. Again, hit me with a number real quick, and I'm gonna pick the first one that I see for the winner of the giveaway here. 1 month free with Trendspider. Hit me up real quick. All right. Nope, I do not see it yet. And actually, wait, it's right here, right here. This brother right here, Alex Sanchez. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. You are the winner. DM me on Twitter. We'll verify your YouTube and we'll get you all set up. Okay. So thanks again, Dan, for the giveaways today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. So I think that's about it. Is there anything else you wanted me to go over? I can ramble about this for.
No, I mean, what I want to say is this. Our Trading Wars community, we focus on very particular setups. We're very focused on our raindrops, our inside bars, holy grails, nirvanas, and our fibs. And I want to just, let everybody know here that I'm going to be working with you to try to make this thing as automated as possible for what we do as a community, because, we do something special. And it's my commitment to make it easier for everyone. Something as simple as buying on the 618 automatically. If we could do that as a team, and I work with you guys to help do that for my community, I think we would have a lasting impact. And that's kind of where I'm at right now too. It's, I've been doing this for a long time, and it's about, I remember when I first started, how overwhelming it was, how misleading it was. I remember how much money I lost, and it was very depressing, very sad. And a lot of people, I've been in this game for a long time, that a lot of people have lost everything, and they've lost relationships, and it can go really deep. And
90, the rule of 90, man. 90% of new traders lose 90% of their capital within 90 days of their first trade.
yeah,
That's very much by design. Like, that's the market makers, that's the algos out there, that's the professionals just understanding our psychology. It's not even that they're doing dirty tricks, right? They just understand the psychology of a trader. They understand that we're making decisions in the moment on the fly, and they understand that's a disadvantaged way to do it. They're like sitting there like running algos to buy near the TWAP, and spreading orders out over weeks, right? Where, us plebs are like mashing buy, on a breakout. It's just a very different approach. And it's the tools, right? That's
it's a tool. Yeah, it's a tools. It's the education. And I know that this stream right here is going to open a lot of people's eyes. And I want to, again, thank you for your time. We're very grateful to have you here. I know you don't have to do this, and it's been a pleasure. And thank you again, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm here. And otherwise, thank you.
Yeah, and last thing on the way out, Dan, I did see a few people with the questions about entering the code and stuff. Could you just show us real quick here on your screen how to go about doing that?
Yeah, I'm logged in, so I have to reshare. But I will.
Okay, no worries.
I will definitely do that right now.
Guys, hit me with a 9 if you're feeling fine. See that I can rhyme too.
That is a good rhyme.
More than a trader, guys.
So the way that it works, there are some pages, like if you have a cookie from a promo, you'll see a coupon, right? So if you see that, either sign up incognito mode or just sign up and message support and say you want to swap your coupon out. They'll do that for you. But normally, if you don't have like a promo running on your computer, right, then here's a coupon link, and you just put it in this box right here, right? If you can't get it to work, just sign up anyway and just message support, right? And they'll fix it for you in the morning. We do coupon swaps all the time. So it's really not a big deal if you have some other offer stuck on your screen. But if you want to do it the right way, just clear your cookies or open incognito mode, and you won't see anything else on there. So that's really simple. And also keep in mind, you can try any plan, right? So when you sign up for a Trendspider account, you get a free trial. If you want more than 7 days, ask support. They'll extend it by an extra week. No questions asked. That's just a policy. We always say yes to one extension. You can also freely switch between plans during your trial, right? So a lot of people will start off with like the middle plan. If they feel like they can get away with something less, they'll downgrade. You can try the different plans, and you can freely move between them. And the other thing that you can do, and I really do recommend it, is we offer one-on-one training, right? So when you sign up, it'll give you an opportunity look on a Calendly schedule, pick a slot, and get like a one-on-one slot. I usually recommend schedule a week out or a few days out so you have time to play with the platform and form some questions. Because then on your one-on-one, you can say, hey, I'm trying to scan for this. Help me build that scan, right? And we will literally walk you through and hold your hand as you put it together. So like training is important because Trendspider is a complex tool. It's not just a new charting platform, but it's kind of a new way to think about charts, a new way to think about trading. And there's a bit of a learning curve. So we try to make that easy and on the onset. There's also tons of educational videos, right? You look on Trendspider's YouTube or on our university section on our website, and there's tons of videos that you can use that, like if you have a quick question, there's a good chance there's a video that answers it. If not, there's support that can always help you. So
Right. All right. That's great, Dan. Thanks again. We'll be in touch. I want to get you on, at least every few months. And I'm hoping the next time we meet, we could dig into like one of these topics specifically, and maybe the seasonality. And I can kind of throw some ideas off of you and we can kind of brainstorm live with the community. We could take some of their feedback and see if we can come up with something that has an edge. And I know we love doing that. So that's kind of what I have planned for next time. And again, thanks so much. We're super grateful for having you.
thank you. Take it easy, okay?
All right, Dan, take care.
Bye-bye.
Boom, boom. There we go, guys. Dan was in the building. Trendspider, doing big things, guys. And a lot of people ask me all the time about my opinion. And I will say that from working with Trendspider now for about a year, that they're going at a fast pace, similar to what we do in Trading Wars. They're growing really quickly. I will say this, guys. I'm going to be completely honest. I still use TradingView intraday because I've just been built that way because I've been doing it for so long. But once we get the multiple screens going, like the multiple layouts, once we get that going, I will, and we get the automated bots, I will definitely be switching over. But that being said, what I love the most about Trendspider is the tools. The market scanner is my number one tool. I do that with you guys every day. That's how we find picks that are going to move the next day. So blue raindrops, my holy grails, nirvanas. And now like looking at the auto fibs, I was looking at that and let's go here. Let's go here to the daily. Let me just change this to a regular candle. So it's there and let's just hit the auto fib. And we could see like, some of these anchor points I would kind of change, but I think it's still a good basis here. Like this one is solid, right? Right here on the weekly chart. So I think like there's a little bit of room for improvement, but maybe that's something I work with them on my end to make it like more of our style of fibs, because I think our style of fibs is a little bit different, but still definitely a good starting point for a lot of people. All right. All right, guys. I mean, you've been with me here for an hour and 17 minutes. I didn't get to go through my recap on the day and walk you through everything. Just hit me with a 6 if you're okay to keep going here. I don't want to keep you long. We could just do this tomorrow if you want. But if you're still okay with it, hit me with a 6 and I'll talk to you about all my trades today. And I'll walk you guys through step by step everything that I did on SPY today. So let's see. See if I can. So what are you guys thinking? I know a lot of you guys might be going to the club a little bit early today. So that's totally fine on a Thursday. All right. So we want to do it. So we will do it. Let's go. Okay. So let's begin, my friends. Today was a very choppy day. We basically closed pretty much inside. All right. So let me go ahead and walk you through everything that I did today. And I had a lot of questions today, so I'm going to make sure to explain everything. So the first thing we have to do, as always, is draw the previous day's high and low, because we need to understand where we are on the chart. All right. So we need to understand where we are on the chart, right? So the first candle that came in, guys, we were inside. So you could see that. You can see, if we were to draw a little box here, if we were to just look at this from a box perspective, this is the range of the previous day, and we're inside of that box. And generally, when we're inside of that box, it's going to be difficult to break out of that box right away. And it's because there's nobody that's actually trapped at the open. There's nobody that's in trouble. There's nobody that's worried that, hey, oh, you know what? I shorted and the market gapped up and I got to cover. It's not like that. It's a little bit more of a calmer day. And because of that, guys, I do not use the opening range breakout generally. on an inside open like this, I will stay away from the opening range breakout. So let me walk you through the plays that we actually took today. So let's go here to the Fibonacci live setup room. Okay. So today I didn't take an orb, like I said. We had some triggers, which I'll talk to you about after. Let's start off with the Fib. Okay. So like I said, this being a potential choppy day, we actually had this little first push down. I did not take this Fib, but you'll see that this Fib actually did really work pretty well. So let me just draw it from high to low. You could see that we had the 618, 786, big rejections. If I go to the 1 minute chart, you'll be able to see that. You could see the algorithm coming in on the 618, on the 786. See that? That's beautiful. That's textbook Fibonacci style of trading. I didn't take it partially because it was just too fast. It happened so fast that I couldn't even execute the trade. So we didn't take it. All right. But what we had after that, guys, is we had another leg, which we were able to hammer. So we pushed through here and then boom. So we pop back up right there. So once we broke into a new high, this is when I said, all right, the bull algo is looking for a play. So what we did here is we took the Fibonacci from the low to the high like this, and we're looking for the golden zone, 50 to the 786 right there. That's where we're looking. So let me just show you that in real time. So here's the exact drawing. Okay. So, and then we said right here, 618 filled long, 786 filled long. So we got filled twice on this trade. Let me walk you through that right now. So we came back down here. That's your first fill. So honest question right there. How many of you would be scared with that big red candle? Would you be scared to take that trade? Like literally going long right when it touches the line. Hit me with a 1 if you'd be a little bit scared, a little bit nervous to take that trade. Because, it looks red. It looks like it's going down even further, right? But you have to remember, with the fibs, we're looking for hidden levels. We're looking for hidden support and resistance. We're looking for opportunities to buy calls at a cheap price in this leg. And when it's red, right? When it's red, the calls are going to be cheaper. Very, very common sense, right? So we get that 618 fill, then we fill the 786 right there, guys, and watch this algo take over. Bam, 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 into a new high. You see that? That's the power of the algorithm. Look at this, guys. If we go to the 1 minute, you could see it in more detail. We popped the 618, 786. The algo came in, took us to a new high. So what we did is we just started scaling out on all these levels. You see all these other lines here on my fibs. These are targets on the way back up. And the goal is really to just get you to a new high. Because when we get to a new high, who's going to be the one that's buying right here, guys? Who do you think? Who's the person that's going to come and buy right there? Who's it going to be? Generally, right, this is where you start to see all of the FOMO, all the stuff on Twitter coming out. Oh, it's breaking out, let's buy a new high. And then they get crushed, right? But you, because you follow this style, because you understand pullbacks, right, you will be taking your profits there, right? And then look what happens right after that. Okay, straight down. See that? So that's how they get rookies, guys. It's one thing to have the tools, but you also have to understand the psychology, right? The algorithm is down here. It's buying down here. It's taking it to a new high. And you see this 10% and this 0.169. This is a custom extension level that I created, right? I created those levels because based on my back testing, and I didn't even have fancy technology, guys. I literally just put it into a spreadsheet. Based on my back testing, they like to break it about 10%, 0.169, so 16%. In that range from the breakout is where they load up and they take the puts. And the puts here are always going to be at a cheaper price when we're making new highs. So that's a great trade. And then after that, guys, we had this pattern right here, a double nirvana, which is, I've never seen this pattern. I don't know when the last time we've seen it. Double nirvana took us right down. So that's one of our custom trading wars patterns right there, double nirvana, right? And then after that, guys, that was it. So that was the fifth play right there. And then we did have a trigger long and that didn't work. So let me just show you that. So I'll just show you. So it took a loser on this one right here. So the long play was 377.87. Okay. So you could see here, guys, that this one just failed. And I like to keep these trades automated with the triggers. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't, then just cut my losses. So 377.87, that was our long entry there. And that trade for me is 100%. That's 100% automated. So I don't care what's happening on the chart. Doesn't matter because I know over 100, 200, 300, 400 trades that I have an edge of just trading it like a robot. So I took a loser on that one. That's totally fine. But something that I want to show you today that you probably wouldn't have seen with just looking at this chart, guys, is a concept I talk about in my SPY book and in my options book. It's called the previous day's range. And when we are chopping in a range for a long time, you see we're chopping back and forth. This is when this tool becomes valuable. So what we do is, you see we had a bigger move yesterday. We take the fib from the low to the high, and you'll see right here, guys, on the 618 of that range, we had that hammer bar. Now check this out. Boom. You see that, guys? That right there. The previous day's range is a powerful tool, especially when we're chopping. When we're chopping, that's when we like to take that. And I know a lot of people, were able to capture that today in the room, and we did a good job today. We did a good job in this chop. We pretty much finished with an inside day. You could see we barely broke the high, barely. But check this out, guys. Even though the trigger, it didn't work the first time, we came and we did a V trigger. So the V trigger is when we break it and we come back again. We retested here, and that one, nice little pop into the previous day's high, which is always one of our first targets on the play. All right. So that's the recap on SPY on the day. Really nice trading. Even though this chart looks a little bit choppy, these were all fibs. It was a fib here and a fib here, extension 618 right here. It was literally just fibs right there. All right, guys. All right. So hit me with a 11 if that makes sense. You guys follow me there? Tomorrow is Lotto Friday. We're going to be going hard, guys. Every Lotto Friday, we've been hitting bangers. Like, it's been just mad. So right here is our Lotto Friday. No, that's not our Lotto. Right here. It's our Lotto Friday room. And you can see last time we hit, where was it? Netflix. So Netflix was last Friday. That one went for like 300 and something percent. Let me just pull it up right now so I can show you guys. All right. So Lotto Fridays, man, it's a crazy day. So if you're looking to sign up, if you want to be a part of us trading with us tomorrow, guys, I would definitely recommend Lotto Friday, but you got to keep the size small. Okay. Don't go ahead and risk the house. Keep it simple. So let me just show you the Netflix play. Right. So here was the recap on the Netflix play. So Netflix went for 374%. And I also showed you Neo, which was one of my Friday picks, for 1,400 bucks. All right. So those were some good plays last week. So keep your eye open on that. As always, guys, check me out at tradingwars.com if you want to trade with me live tomorrow. Like I said, if you get any one of my 3 books, guys, you get 1 month for free in the room. The previous day's range is something I talk a lot about in SPY, because this book covers the basic strategies, the main strategies I use for SPY. And the previous day's range is one of those that I use on SPY a lot. So if you grab the book here, guys, you get 1 month for free, trade with us live, or you can sign up directly here on the main page. Let's go back to Trendspider and let's do some scans and let's see what we can get. All right, guys. And I just want to reiterate, use this code TWZ50 tonight only, 12 months, 50% off. All right. They told me that this is the maximum they can give, because I wanted to do something special for you guys today. This is the maximum they can do. So if you're interested, this is the time. All right. Check it out, guys. They do free trials, everything. All right. So check them out. Let's go ahead and run the scan. So let's see if we can get anything on the blue raindrops right now. Man, I really appreciate you guys being here for 1 hour and 30 minutes, man. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So what do we have? So from the blue raindrop perspective, Visa is a nice little lotto play. I like that right there. We have a little bit of a gap to be filled on Visa as well. So, the last blue raindrop was like an island where we gapped down. We had some powerful ones back in the day. So we'll be looking right here for Visa. I like that. MGM, let's see. MGM looking good too. 27 bucks. Could be a nice lotto play there. You can hit it with shares. You don't have to hit it with options. Goldman Sachs, been shopping for a long time, so it's got to get out of this range soon. So this is something, that's something to keep an eye on. All right, let's go for the Holy Grail. See if there's any Holy Grails. Comcast, we trade this one a lot. You can see the last few Holy Grails have been pretty choppy, so maybe we change the trend today, going into tomorrow. Let's see. eBay, that's another one I do a lot of on. eBay right here, guys. The last Holy Grail was a big push, so we're looking for a similar play going into tomorrow. So watch eBay. All right. So what else we have? Nirvana. Let's see what we got here with the Nirvana. Dollar Tree. I sometimes trade this with shares. There's a gap below. Be careful. Not the best name in terms of liquidity. So be careful with that. All right, guys. Look, thanks for being here. I appreciate you. We have one more giveaway for Trendspider. So let's do that right now. On it. So I'm picking a number 1 to 20 again. Hit me with the number right now. Hit me with the number right now. And I'm gonna pick the first one that pops up on my screen here, okay? And we'll wrap this up tonight. I hope you guys are ready to rock and roll tomorrow for Lotto Friday, man. Fridays are very volatile. It could make a lot, you could lose a lot. Protect yourself, but know that we expect there to be a lot of volatility on Friday, especially with a day like today. So this brother right here, Ain. Let me just make sure. Actually, Ain, I'm sorry, brother. There was people that went before you with this number. I'm sorry, brother, but you already won a giveaway before, so it's all good, right? I hope. So Edwin was actually the first one. So Edwin, you are the winner, brother. DM me on Twitter. We'll verify you, get you all set up, and then I'll hook you up and send you over to Trendspider to get you all set up, okay? Thank you guys for your time. Please comment, like, subscribe. I want to bring more guests on in the future, so please let me know in the comment section below once I end this broadcast. Did you like what I did here with Trendspider? Do you want me to keep, doing these type of things? Did you enjoy it? And don't forget to use that code tonight. And otherwise than that, have a great evening. I mean, I don't even know where we're at right now. It's been a long time, so we're in the nighttime. Have a great nighttime, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, okay? Take care.